Welcome to the Rialto Marketing Podcast. Today's episode is a revenue acceleration series episode where we talk to seven-figure B2B professional service firm owners that are actively trying to grow their business and get to the next level. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly so that you can learn from their experience. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe you must remove your revenue roadblocks if you want to accelerate growth. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in today. Really excited to have with me today Jeff Chandler from ZJack Technologies. Jeff, welcome and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to digging into this with you. I think there's a lot to learn from the conversation we're going to have today. But before we jump into that, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions. You ready to go?
Let's go.
Okay. Very quickly, what do you do and how long have you been doing it?
Yes, so I run an IT services firm. So we provide cybersecurity services and IT managed services to our clients. I've been doing IT for 35 years. This is my third business I've started. And this particular one I've been doing about 2.5 years.
Awesome. I don't want to go too far off subject, but can you really offer IT services without offering cyber at this point?
No. And we tell people we start with a cyber first security model in mind, and then back into the IT services because everything has to be wrapped around your cybersecurity.
Yeah. It seems to me that like if you're not offering cyber, you're missing like a huge piece of the IT puzzle here.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. So what's the most important lesson that you've learned in running your business?
Yeah, it's always been focus. It seems like, when you start a business, you kind of, you see that the next little squirrel you got to chase and just focusing on the right things, focusing on the plan and continuing to grow the business. Don't chase all of those things that come along. Know what your goal is, what's your end goal, what you're trying to do, and just focus on that and go.
Jeff, you're speaking my language. Like you're just throwing me softballs here. Focus, planning, so important on the marketing side of things. We take the exact same approach, right? There's as business owners, whether it's marketing or anything else, there's so much information out there that's coming at us. And if we don't have a plan that helps us gain clarity and identify what our priorities are so we know what to focus on, you are that squirrel chasing a nut. And
right.
It's just so hard to get traction when you're in that place.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that. That's a fantastic piece of advice. So we all know growing a business is hard. There's a lot of work. We're going to hit roadblocks. We're going to hit challenges. Is there any type of, mantra or saying that you tell yourself or you share with your team that kind of helps you push through those times?
Yes, there's a couple things. We don't have a particular mantra, but there's a couple things we keep in mind. One is the who, not how. So focusing on who can help me get this done rather than how I'm going to do it necessarily. Because technology is such a broad category and there's so many things that you can learn and do. And we don't expect everybody to know all of it. So if you're stuck, ask for help. Who can help me get this done? And then the other part of that is done is better than perfect is the other thing we say. So too often I'm a perfectionist. I want to get things done. And sometimes I want to just keep tweaking it, whether it's a next marketing thing we're going to send out or whatever it is. And sometimes just get it out there and get the feedback and just continue to refine it and improve it as you go.
Yeah, I am a recovering perfectionist as well. And there is so much that there's no perfect plan. The plan we start with is not the plan that's going to get us to our eventual destination. And so once you've got enough, we learn by taking action and, we see what works, what doesn't, and make course corrections along the way. So fantastic piece of advice. So one of the things you touch, who, not how, I think kind of leads in to the next thing I want to ask you about, which is, you've managed to grow your business without adding a lot of employees, which employees can be a great thing. They can be a difficult thing, right? I don't think there's any necessarily right or wrong answer here of do you
Mm-hmm.
want to use employees or not? You made the choice. I don't want to have a ton of employees at this point. How have you grown without adding that staff?
Yeah, it's finding the right strategic partnerships. So, like I said, it's not necessarily about who I can hire because technology is tough. It's hard finding people, and it's such a broad category again. So, if I can find the right strategic partners who are specialists in certain kinds of things, then I can continue to grow the business without hiring a huge staff. So, for example, I'm partnering with a company in Dallas to provide help desk services, and so not only do they provide the help desk for me, but they provide advice. We have peer groups within that team. So I partner with around 200 companies around the country. So if I have clients who have offices in multiple cities, I'm able to leverage those partnerships I have with those other IT companies to provide services nationwide to our clients. And we also get on a call once a week and just kind of talk about how business is going. What those struggles are you having? So having those mentor relationships as part of that is pretty awesome. Getting that advice from people who've been there, maybe who've got a bigger business than me,
Yeah.
who've been doing it a lot longer. Just getting that feedback is great.
How did you initially find this company? And it's okay. I mean, if you want to mention them, I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, it's a group called the 20.
Okay, the 20. Yep.
Yep. So part of that group, it was just really I was looking for outsourced help and ran across them and started doing some investigating and just loved their model, loved their business model, and wanted to be a part of it.
So I'm assuming the help desk services that they're providing are obviously, well, one, they have scale, right? Because they're doing this for a lot of other people. And if I
Right.
remember correctly, when we initially spoke, um, are they also establishing vendor relationships that you can take advantage of as well?
Right. So absolutely. So rather than me negotiating with a lot of vendors on agreements, they're able to leverage all of these companies together
Yeah.
and negotiate agreements for us. So we're able to get better deals, better contract terms because of that leverage we have with this many endpoints of clients.
Yeah, because a lot of manufacturers in the IT space sell on a per seat basis, do they not?
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, gosh, there's so much value in this. I want to make
Right.
sure we don't miss anything here. Um, you're getting economies of scale that you would not have by yourself, which is
Right.
giving you greater buying power.
Hmm.
They are providing services for you that should, if you tried to do that in house, would be incredibly expensive.
Right.
Um, so you're getting a much better return based on where you are right now.
Right.
Um, the other thing that you mentioned that I think a lot of people overlook is just this, uh, you know, camaraderie, mastermind element
Hmm.
of this. One of the first business that I was involved in um, was a wholesale distribution company, and we
Hmm.
ended up partnering with other distributors across the country, and the the information that we shared with each other was absolutely invaluable. You touched on this. Some of the people that you're talking to are ahead of you, some are
Hmm.
behind, some are at the same place, but you can all learn from each other. And
Right.
um, there honestly, if that's the only thing you were paying for, my guess is it would be well worth the money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome because, the struggles we have, things we run into, maybe a sales situation, or maybe even a problem with a computer or a service we have, being able to pitch things off of them and say, how did you solve this particular problem? Or how did you deal with the situation?
Yeah.
Getting that feedback from that group is pretty amazing.
Why reinvent the wheel when somebody's already got it figured
Hmm.
out, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So one of the things we talked about in our pre-interview you lean towards being an introvert. I
Right.
do as well.
Mhm.
But a lot of marketing requires us to put ourselves out there. Um,
Mhm.
how have you dealt with this? How have you kind of pushed through that? Because I think this is a
Yeah.
common roadblock people have.
Yeah. And my wife says I'm a forced extrovert. So, so it's just because of what I do. You have to get out there. You have to be able to talk about your business. Honestly, when I first started doing it, I was nervous going into, leads group meetings and doing my introduction or doing my 10-minute presentation. Those kinds of things really pushed me out of my comfort zone. But it's just a matter of just pushing yourself and doing it that really is making it work.
Did you find that the more you pushed yourself, the easier it became?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I still have to kind of get that quiet time to recharge, but definitely we'll go out there and I feel a lot more comfortable doing that now.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I have always told people. Gosh, at this point, I'm over 200 podcast episodes in. I
Hmm.
shoot all this stuff with video because I love video content. And look, we all have fears, but when we can push through those fears and just start doing,
Hmm.
taking action, as you mentioned
Right.
before, our comfort zone expands.
Hmm.
The other thing that I've also found really helpful for me is just getting to a place where you just don't care as much about what other people think. Like everybody's
Right.
got their own opinion. Who cares? If I try to please everybody, I'm not going to please anybody.
Hmm.
So, if we can all get to a place where we just go out there and do our thing, and it's going
Hmm.
to resonate with some people and others it's not, and that's okay.
Right.
Um, but I think that is a huge monkey on a lot of people's back,
Hmm.
So kudos to you for pushing through it.
Thank you.
A lot of, like you said, marketing, you got to put yourself out there in some way, shape, or form. So,
Hmm. Right.
uh, so speaking about marketing, one of the marketing tools that you have taken advantage of is PR, or public relations.
Right.
I want to dig into this a little bit because, look, I'll be honest with you. From as a marketing consultant and a fractional chief marketing officer, PR is not one of the first places I go with a lot or recommend for
Hmm.
a lot of our clients. So I'm curious to dig into this with you. Um, Tell me about, like, how did you settle on PR as a bit of a focus with your marketing efforts, and
Hmm.
how have you gone about it?
Yeah. So for me, starting a new business, it was partially to help build authority with the business and my brand. So if you're invited to the evening news to talk about a cybersecurity topic, it's going to just automatically build authority for you and your business. So actually, I talked to a lady who is a PR consultant who's in the Chamber of Commerce. So joining the chamber, lots of great connections there. She's in a leads group I'm in. We started talking about it, and it's kind of funny because when we first started, I said, "Now I'm not sure I'm real comfortable about being on TV. Let's start with maybe you can write some articles or do some podcast." And she said, "Sure." We did some media training, and then 2 days later, she calls and says, "Hey, by the way, the TV station is doing a segment on protecting yourself on Cyber Monday. Do you want to go on?" And it was a live 10-minute TV spot. And yeah, I was pretty nervous that day, but just kind of went in, focused on just talking to the lady I was talking to. I think I studied for 2 or 3 hours the night before just because I was so nervous about it. But once you get in, just kind of force yourself to do it, focus on it. Yeah, that worked out really well. And then from there, it's a matter of just keeping up with the news. So in your particular industry, what's a hot topic? What's something that's going on nationally, internationally, in the community, and then letting the news people know why your local community should care about it. You know, so like example, the war in Russia. Why is that an issue in cybersecurity in Louisville, Kentucky? So then pulling out those things that people might need to be thinking about for their business,
Yeah.
and then talking to the media about um, those particular bullet points, those hot topics, and then getting their attention that way.
Are so is are have has a lot of your PR spots been locally based?
Right. Yeah, I've done a few national type publications, but most everything's local.
And because are a lot of your clients locally based as well?
Right. Most of them are local. I've got a few outside of Louisville, but most of them are within, an hour or two of Louisville.
Got it. So I know that PR can get extremely expensive depending on who you work with. How it sounds like have a lot of the spots that you've secured been done through the PR consultant that you've been working with?
Right. Yep. That's the way I've been doing it. So,
How
so
does
there,
how does she charge for this stuff? Does she charge on a a per spot basis or what? How does that work?
yeah, it's like a retainer. So we agreed on a set amount of hours per month that we think is appropriate, and then I pay her based on that.
Got it. So you pay her a retainer. She works those hours to try and secure you spots.
Right, and it might be following help a reporter out. It could be so if something comes up that might be a good topic for me to talk about, she'll send those to me. I think I've only had one of those actually come through where they actually did the interview, but just keeping an eye on that. So that kind of gives you some hot topics that you might be able to talk about as well,
Hmm.
and then just leveraging those relationships, just constantly staying in front of the media people.
Yeah.
When they're looking for someone to comment on something, they're going to look through their email real quick to see, do I have somebody in my email who could potentially help me with this? They're in a hurry. They got a lot to do. They've got to maybe make a story for the evening newscast. So you got to be ready to go.
Yeah.
So they might call me at 10 or 11 and say, hey, I'm doing a story tonight on this particular cybersecurity incident. Are you available in a couple hours to talk about it?
And you got to move.
And so, it's doing a little homework real quick, so you make sure you understand what they want to talk about, and then getting ready and rescheduling is necessary, because if they don't interview you, they're going to move on to the next person.
Yeah. Yeah. How how many PR spots are you doing a month, or is it more of a quarterly thing? What does that look like?
So it's averaging out like about one TV spot a month, and then
Okay.
some other news media like an article or something. So local business paper, even a newspaper that's sort of more regional, those kinds of things. So at least one or two things a month.
Yeah. Are you, how have you, a couple questions that are coming to mind that I think are important for people to understand. What are some of the things that you're doing to leverage the PR once you get it?
Yeah, so for me, it's a matter of just staying front of mind for my clients and prospects. So in some cases, it might be a prospect I've been working on who will say, "Oh, I saw you on the local news last night. I know we've got this thing going on. Let's set up a lunch and let's talk about it." So it's maybe reactivating some of those prospects, or even somebody who you're trying to get your foot in the door. You can bring that up and say, we were on the news talking about this topic. We think we can help your business with this particular issue, and
Yeah.
leveraging it that way.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways you can potentially leverage this. And there's one with a lot of these PR spots, you are getting links back to your company. The TV
Right.
spots, some of them, it kind of depends. The print spots, a
Hmm.
lot of them, my guess is you are getting links from their site back to yours,
Right.
which from an SEO standpoint, um, those are really high quality backlinks, which is
Hmm.
really good for you. Um, but the other thing too, we see this all the time, people on their website, hey, I've been featured on, right? And they're using those logos to leverage that, right?
Right. I do that as
So,
well.
yeah, so that's a great way to leverage those spots. The other thing too is taking those spots and promoting them through your social channels is another easy way to get the word out there.
Hmm.
Because what a lot of us don't realize is when you show that you've been featured on the news, and what people are familiar with that, the credibility of that other company starts to translate over to you, right? It's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, Jeff was featured on whatever, Louisville KDR TV, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh, I know them. Like, shoot, Jeff, I don't know Jeff, but he must be legit to be featured on the news, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the things that are going through people's minds. And that absolutely helps you build credibility and authority. I think it's to leverage it as much as possible. You want to promote those spots throughout the rest of your marketing channels to really maximize the exposure as much as possible.
Right. And even on the TV spots, a lot of times they'll put a web story as well to go along with it, which could include the video plus a lot more of the interview that you may have done with them. Because a lot of times what will happen is we'll do an interview that might last 30, 45 minutes, and they'll pull out maybe 30 seconds of sound bites.
Yep, got it.
So you'll get a lot more of the topic. And even without the backlink to your site, just mentioning your business name in that article still helps build your authority, and Google will see that as well and help build your SEO.
Yeah. So you're just slowly putting these seeds out there that are really helping your business over the long term.
Right.
Here's my next question about PR. How are you tracking the ROI on it, or are you?
Unfortunately, I need to do a better job of that. I have not been doing much of that. I do ask people where they saw me and how they found out about my business. I don't do a great job right now of tracking that, but I need to do better at that.
It's this is PR is one of those things where it is a bit more complicated to track.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like my first recommendation is exactly what you just said, asking people where they heard about you.
Mm-hmm.
Now they may not always remember, but that's the simplest and the easiest thing you can do. I mean, there are certainly some things where you could, depending on how in depth you want to get with tracking, the links that you provide them that they use in the posts could be tracking links so that you can track how much traffic is coming back to your website from those.
Right.
If you're listing phone numbers, you could use call tracking there, right? You could list you could use a specific number for just PR in general, or you could use specific number for each PR spot. That would be a lot, I think.
Right.
I think just tracking overall how much business is coming from your PR is the easiest place to start. But call tracking and link tracking is another way to do it. My guess is in a lot of the PR spots, you don't necessarily have an opportunity to like call people out and send them to a specific place.
Right. Most of the time, you're not there to promote your business.
Yeah.
If we're talking about protecting yourself on Cyber Monday, shopping online, you're not necessarily going to get people referred to you, but then when you come back and say, you can take that video, promote it on your social media. Hey, I was on local news talking about this topic. It helps you build authority maybe on LinkedIn or other places. And then just people start to remember when you talk about it. Or you can just bring it up in your proposals, those sorts of things.
Yeah. Is most of your marketing effort in PR at this point, or are you actively using any other marketing channels?
We use a lot of different methods. So we're part of Robin Robbins' technology marketing. And she talks about oil wells, having lots of oil wells. So we do direct mail. We work on SEO. We do Google AdWords. We do a lot of different things because if one thing is not working, then you have something else that's going to be delivering results for you.
Yeah, so you're really taking advantage of an omni-channel marketing approach, which
you want to be everywhere.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of people are heavily reliant on a single lead gen source, which is the way I compare it as it's like riding a unicycle. If the tire goes flat, you're
Hmm.
hosed, right?
Right.
But if you've got 3, 4, 5 different channels, you're in a four-wheeler or a car. If the tire goes flat, you can still keep going. It may slow you down a little bit, but you can
Right.
still get to where you want to go.
Hmm.
So taking advantage of an omni-channel approach is fantastic.
Hmm.
The other thing that I think is important and a lot of us overlook is most of the marketing we do is not going to work. That's just the reality of it. Marketing is
Hmm.
all about testing and testing quickly so you can figure out what's working, what's not, and make those course
Right.
corrections. And when you're using multiple channels, it definitely gives you a huge opportunity to test in a lot of areas. I love the fact that you're using direct mail. A
Hmm.
lot of people do not do that. But since you're focused in a very set geographic area,
Hmm.
direct mail can be a great
Right.
opportunity.
Yeah, and we do postcards, newsletters, more letters that like the call to action, and then we follow those up with phone calls as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. What are your favorite lead gen channels?
I'm not sure I have a favorite. I think that the ones making the phone calls out is the one that really works. Yeah, so
Interesting.
following up everything, so you've got something you've provided to them. Now you have an excuse to call as well. Hey, I'm calling. Did you receive the postcard we sent you about this? Did you receive the letter we sent you about this? Now you have an excuse to possibly get through the gatekeeper
Yeah,
rather than just a cold call where you're saying, hey, I'm calling about IT support. What can we do to help you?
yeah. So
And
you're
get hung up on.
in. This is a really this is awesome. I love this. It's not just a single touch or even multiple touches through one channel. You're layering these channels on top of each other
Hmm.
to to get better results.
Right. And people, when they hear you, then they're going to go out and investigate. So your social media has to be up to date.
Yeah,
Are you posting on your Facebook business page, on your LinkedIn page? They're going to do some background checks on you to see, do you have reviews, those sorts of
yeah,
things. So all of those things work together to help build a business.
yeah. Again, Jeff, you just keep serving me these softballs here today. Uh, Even if your business is 100% referral,
Hmm.
people aren't just picking up the phone and calling when Jeff says, "Hey, you need to talk to Tim." They're going online. They're checking our businesses out. They're looking at our website. They like what they see. They may go to social media. They may look at some reviews. So it's having a robust online presence, I think, is really, really important. Otherwise,
Hmm.
you're losing business. People are dropping out of the journey, and you don't even know it.
Right. Yeah.
So I love it, man. I have one more question for you, and then we can start to wrap things up here. Um, what's had the biggest impact on the growth of your company?
I think it's going back to what I said originally. It's those peer groups and mentorships with other IT owners. And these are IT owners in different markets, so we don't compete against each other.
Yeah,
So just finding that affinity group, uh, even through maybe it's a LinkedIn group or something, but finding an affinity group of people in a similar industry and be able to bounce ideas off of them for growth, getting a coach, those sorts of things help tremendously.
I love it. I've got one more question for you. I ask
Okay.
everybody this question. Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would do differently?
Yeah, so like I said, this is the third business I've started. So one of the things I started with this one was starting with where it's not a job. This is a business I'm building. So I'm a big believer in a lot of the E-Myth type
Yep.
methods. So building systems where it's not just me setting up in the morning and these are the jobs I got to do today. Uh, it's how do I build this as a system so that if I bring someone on to do the job, they know exactly how to do it where it's not relying on me. And then I've got a sellable asset when I'm done.
Do you think, did you not work on that type of stuff early enough? Do you feel like?
So in the first business I had, I think it was a lot dependent on me. And so I ended up with 10 employees at one point. And it just seemed like it was all draining on me because I was a technician with a job rather than a business owner.
Yeah.
So then I went to work for a startup insurance company. We built that, sold it to a Fortune 100 company about 5 years ago. Learned a ton there. I had some great mentor relationships as part of that business, and then decided it was time to move on and do my own thing again. So I'm really, really loving it.
Jeff, this has been a great interview. I really appreciate you taking the time. Where can people learn more about you?
Yeah, so they can find me on LinkedIn, and then you've got my Sleek Bio page on there. I've got some great resources. It's got all my social media links. It's got my LinkedIn link, my email, a couple of offers. So if you want to get signed up for my newsletter, you can get that, or a resource on some just standard protections and best practices for protecting your network. Got some great tools there.
I love it. So we'll make sure that is in the show notes. But for those that are listening, it's Sleek, SLEEK, and then bio.com/ZJAK Tech. That's ZJAK Tech, TECH. So head on over there if you'd like to connect with Jeff. I have enjoyed connecting with you a few times now. Thank you so much for that, and appreciate you taking the time. For those that are watching, listening, I appreciate you. Hope you got a ton of value from this conversation that Jeff and I have had. Gosh, if you want to accelerate revenue growth, got to remove those roadblocks. If you want to find out which roadblocks are slowing down your growth, head on over to revenueroadblockscorecard.com. Less than 5 minutes, you'll be able to discover and assess those roadblocks. You can always connect with us as well over at rialtomarketing.com too. So thank you so much. Till next time, take care.
Thanks.